Hello everybody. It's great to visit with you, and as Tom said, we spent a good number of hours together on the way to Duke and on the way back from Duke, and I know everything about every one of them. I'm going to introduce you to Zami Agricole, which is Partners in Agriculture in Haiti. That's the central plateau of Haiti. This is the central plateau. And we are based in this part here, about 5 miles from Mirabelle, just a little ways below Lac Lee, which was dammed by the U.S. government to provide electricity to Port-au-Prince back in 1962. 14 years ago, we had the occasion to visit Haiti, and the reason for that was to teach English to the children. Having arrived there, it didn't take us too long to get the feeling that teaching English, while it was important, wasn't the important thing. The important thing was to save children that were suffering from malnutrition. 40% of the children in the Central Plateau did not reach the age of 5. So that was a major problem. My wife and I come from Australia, and she probably recognized the accent. And we were farmers in the outback, so we have an agricultural background. When the Haitians found out that, they said, well, what are you going to do about feeding our children? And so we said, well, give us some land and we'll work it and see what we can do. This is the lake that was dammed for Port-au-Prince. And this is the problem, the malnutrition. We started growing vegetables. That didn't supply the answer. The answer was to get something which was going to be a medication for the children suffering. And we came across a formula based on peanuts. It came from Africa. In Africa, it was called plumpy nut. We couldn't use it in Haiti as plumpy nut, so we called it murimamba, which means plumpy nut. And we started growing and testing seeds for peanuts. And with the help of Clemson University, the University of Florida, Virginia Tech, we tested and researched a whole lot of seeds. And eventually came across a seed which was adaptable to the Haitian climate, and we started to grow peanuts. The first year we planted 20 acres of peanuts. We now have over 60 acres of peanuts, all fully irrigated land, in addition to bananas and corn and Haitian spinach, which goes into this formula. The formula treats children, and within 9 weeks, these are some of the children that come into the clinic. They're being weighed. As they're fed, they're weighed. In 9 weeks, it goes, the child on the left is the same child on the right after treatment for 9 weeks. It's unbelievable. And since we started this program in the early 2000s, we have treated over 40,000 children. This is where they come from. This is the plot of land they gave us to farm. As you can see, it is not very farmable land. But this is what we did in the first year, which was all vegetables and corn. 2 years later, a friend had owned a plot of land on the banks of the Artibonite River and wanted wanted to lease it, and we leased it for $800 a year, some 40 acres. We wanted to get away from growing the vegetables and get into growing the food that was going to sustain Haiti, or the central plateau of Haiti as a whole. So we started to bring in farmers. We actually employ at this point in time 160 laborers on the farm. And we also receive goods, including peanuts, from those farmers, and they bring it in to us for treatment and processing into this Nuri Mamba format. This is the drip irrigation system. All this that you're going to see now was supplied by Rotary in District 7750, which is right next door to you going south. This is a banana field.
I'm not sure.
Right back with you. That's fine. This is some of the produce from the farms. This is a new farm that was purchased about 4 years ago, another 70 acres. And in those fields are corn and mainly corn and beans. Because the children that came into the clinic, you feed them and get them back to reasonable health in 9 weeks, but they go back to their families from where they came from, suffering from malnutrition. So it was decided that we needed to treat the families as well, to help the families. And so we started what is called a family assistance program, where we go into the in the hills and the small villages and give them seeds and tools and a goat and show them modern methods of farming. And that program has been very successful. There are 2,000 families within that program at this point in time. We give these goods to the families on the basis that after the first year, they give us the goods back, including once they go to kids, they give the kid to us. And with us, they go to another family in the same village and start them on the program. So it just expands annually. Bunch of goods. This is the nursery. They started to do a couple of things to produce trees, fruit trees, mangoes and oranges and lemons, and also trees for reforesting the mountains in the Central Plateau. Is our initial pump used for the irrigation. This was provided to us by Rotary. A truck that was provided by Rotary. A drilling rig. We've had this rig It's owned by a partner organization. We've had that for about 5 years now. And we've sunk something like 12 wells successfully. Some of them are only 50 feet below the surface. Others go down to 200 feet. In the Central Plateau of Haiti, while drilling wells is very important, there are also a lot of water, creeks and rivers, and of course in the wet season you get a lot of water, rain anyway. So we've started rain harvesting with tanks for fresh water. When it rains in the wet season, we put all the runoff into tanks for fresh water. Really exciting this year. There are a lot of schools now, elementary school, middle schools, high schools. The problem with those in the Central Plateau is that once they get their high school certificate, there's nothing for them to do. Very few of them are able to get into a college in Port-au-Prince. And a lot of them really just hang out around the villages. So it was decided that we need to educate them in something practical that they can do to help their particular regions. So it was decided to start a vocational school. We consulted with a number of vocational schools, Virginia Tech and Greenville Tech, that helped us plan this. And we hired the principal of the school in Port-au-Prince, who was the headmaster of an agricultural school in Port-au-Prince until the earthquake destroyed their buildings. But he came along, and this is what we've done. We've now, the school opened in February 2012. 75 students were enrolled, mainly in agriculture, which is a 3-year program, and construction, which is a 2-year program, including woodwork. So they just passed their first year exams, and we're starting to enroll the next series of students. This is really exciting, and it's based on a very, very successful program in Costa Rica at Earth University. You may have heard of it. It has a great grounding for the kind of people that we want to turn out in Haiti. This is the new vocational school. This is all the equipment and things, all provided by Rotary. As you see, we were told to advertise that Rotary was involved. This is a unique thing. You saw when we started off the starfish story. I guess you all know the starfish story. Anyway, this is based on the starfish. That ceiling is the starfish. And it's an outdoor classroom. Of course, the weather down there is just great for being outdoors. And so a lot of the programs are conducted outside. This is an interesting part. Part of the education process of the vocational school is ethics. And $2,500 pays for an education for 1 year at the vocational school. Obviously, the students, or the prospects for students there do not have very much money or access to very much money. So we raise a whole lot of scholarship money. And we'll give them a $1,500 scholarship if they can raise $1,000 themselves from whatever place they can. They came after 6 months at the school, they were struggling to raise that kind of money, and they came to the principal and said, give us a plot of land and we will work it and we will sell the produce from that little plot of land and we'll put that money towards our education. So ethics is really started. It's a great program. They've now this is only a very small plot, but they've now expanded that 5-fold. of the 160 workers on the farm, these are their children, and they had nowhere to be educated, so we started a kindergarten school, and they got dressed up like this for their first graduation. It was a wonderful experience. That's the end of the slides, but I'd just like to comment on the water situations that we've had down there. We've capped springs, we've piped water. The longest was 5 kilometers from a capped spring down to a village. So we've tried all sorts of harvesting of water, and it's critical. The school now has a filtration system as well. So when we pump water from the wells, it goes through the filtration system and is put into tanks for use by that particular village, not just the school, but the village surrounding it. Cagne, which is about 5 miles further up north towards Haiti, the capital of the Central Plateau, was started by Dr. Paul Farmer, who you may have read about, a great humanitarian doctor that is a professor at Harvard and works as a physician in the Women's Hospital in Boston. And he went down there when he was very young, actually before he started medical school, and got taken by the village of Cagne and started to set up a medical facility. So he set up a hospital there, and since then, over the years, it's expanded to 14 clinics within and around the Central Plateau, mainly treating infectious diseases. There was a huge problem with HIV, which is pretty much under control. Of course, you have things like cholera coming along all the time, and that has been very successful. He has just raised the funds to build a 300-bed university training facility in Mirabelle, which was opened on Thursday. A great facility and a great thing for the whole region there. One of the big problems they had, of course, was clean water. The Artibonite River, which was the source of cholera in Haiti 2 years ago, because of no sanitary conditions in Mirabelle, and all the sanitary refuse was put into the river and floated down to the coast, and lots of people got cholera, including the rice farms, highly productive rice farms on the banks of the Artibonite River, and they were infected with cholera disease, and that will take many years for it to completely filter out. So the Central Plateau has come a long way. Last Sunday, our past president, Bill Clinton, happened to visit the farm with 20 other people in his touring party, and he left and has promised to give us $100,000 for a seed bank so that we can expand the seeds that we're growing, so we can distribute them to a wider area. And has also introduced 2 large corporations who are going to fund the reforestation program in the area. So that's really exciting. As far as Rotary is concerned, Rotary, we have a good number of people that go to Haiti. I go about 3 or 4 times a year. My wife goes about 6 months of the year. But it's a great, the people, the Haitian people are unbelievably wonderful, friendly, and have a staying power like I've never witnessed before. I mean, they go through all the disasters and problems that they've had, but they come out smiling and wanting to do something, get on with it. And they're very thankful for anybody that does anything for them. So anyway, that's the story of the Central Plateau of Haiti. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Yes?
This is not a critical question, and I thank you for doing this. When you empower the people to, to grow the plants for sale, and who are the people that are actually able to afford buying these new products and services? Is it coming from other communities? Is it coming from the Clinton $100,000 grants to other companies that can afford it? Is that with these new entrepreneurs having these products, is that cutting into the market share of, I know they probably don't have Walmarts, but the whatever stores that are there, how is that affecting who's able to buy it and who's been providing those services?
Well, that's a great question. It's something we've struggled with ever since day one. In every little village you have a marketplace where the local farmers bring their ear of corn or their mango or whatever, and they barter and change it around for the things that they would need. We were concerned about entering into that marketplace and destroying it. But with the Family Assistance Program, increasing the production of each of those farmers, the network became greater and greater. The biggest provider of money for commerce in this particular area are NGOs. You've got all the NGOs that send money down there. Some of them send people, some of them do constructive work, but they send money which is distributed within their particular organizations and the people like that. So it does create a source of revenue. But the challenge that we had was to create commerce. Just feeding people wasn't creating commerce. We have to set up a mechanism by which they can buy and sell stuff. Grow, buy and sell. And the marketplace hasn't been altered by our getting involved with it. In fact, if anything, it has expanded the capabilities of those particular marketplaces. There aren't, in our area, there aren't stores. There are street stalls and marketplaces. That's about where everything is purchased. Yes?
Why is it necessary to filter well water?
Well, the well water is not what we would call 100% pure. It can be contaminated by the flow of water underground. It can be contaminated by the runoff of from the road systems. And for drinking water, we felt it was necessary to filter all that water.
And I guess you've
Now, the Haitians drink water without going through a filter. And their immune system and things are capable of handling it. But if I get down and drink out of a creek, I know I'll be in hospital real quick.
Your filters were made by yourself with charcoal?
No, the ones at the school we purchased, they're fully, that's a system that was purchased. But we do in the villages, we have little sand filters and all sorts of different kinds of filters for water. But there's been a huge drive for clean water in Haiti as well as everywhere in the world.
Is there an end to the story of the river with the cholera?
There's an end that will come. Yes, yeah. I think in 2011, which was the first year after the outbreak, there was something like 30,000 or 40,000 people treated for cholera. I believe last year it was something like 3,000. So it's actually gradually disappearing. But, you still have to be very careful from drinking from the river or the creeks or what have you.
I'd like to talk about the drilling rig, the logistics of that, the repair parts and the geotechnical conditions, what elevation you're drilling at, and are you hitting rocks? Do you move? Do you have a supervisor, or can those guys run it themselves? Those kind of things.
the rig is not good in rocky, hilly country. We mainly use it on the flat areas around the river or in the valleys. We haven't had occasion because there's plenty of water source by springs in the hills and mountains. What was the other part of your question?
Well, I asked about the elevation and who maintains the rig, and do you have to have a supervisor that can coordinate everybody? Is he American, is he European, is he Haitian, or is he...
No, they're all Haitian people. They have an expertise in mechanics. I mean, it may not be, they can fix stuff. Although you can run into occasions where they won't fix stuff. About 4 years ago, we were given a tractor by the Venezuelan government, a tractor that was manufactured in Iran. And they delivered the tractor to the farm, and the second day that it was in function, it stopped. I went back down there about 8 weeks later, and that tractor was still sitting on the side of the road. No one knew or could get any parts for it or anything like that. So they're lessons that you learn by accepting stuff from Venezuela. But we do have mechanics there that fix road vehicles and pumps and all the equipment.
I think before you wrap up, I don't know how long it will go, but I think everybody's excited to hear the story about what happened.
Okay, well, I'll be very brief. About 5 years ago, on my way down to the complex, myself and 3 Haitians were kidnapped, and we spent four days and nights in Cagne, which is a little suburb outside of Port-au-Prince. It wasn't very pleasant, but it turned out all right. Swift justice came to the people who kidnapped us. They were all executed within 6 weeks. But I got to say that it was a traumatic experience, but one thing I did learn is our government, the US government, steps up to the plate. They were absolutely brilliant in the negotiations and being able to get us freedom. I can't say too much about the FBI and the State Department, who all got involved, and they coached the Haitian people who were speaking to the kidnappers about how to go about solving the problem. And the Haitians, the 3 Haitians were wonderful. There was 1 gal and 2 guys. It was difficult because they only spoke Creole and I didn't speak but a few words of Creole, so our conversations were difficult, and we spent most of the time tied together under trees, sleeping out in the open day and night. When they moved us, we were all barnacled together, tied together with blindfolds, threatened all the time with knives and guns and all that kind of interesting stuff. Anyway, it's over.
Were you kidnapped for ransom, or was there...
It's an interesting story, actually. On the way out at Quadruple Cave, on this very narrow road, there are what we call speed bumps. And they're very large speed bumps. I mean, you have to stop your vehicle to get over them. And on one of those speed bumps, when we stopped to proceed, these bandits, about 70 of them, came out of surrounding village, being chased by the police because they had killed a police sergeant and one of the other policemen, and so they were being hunted and chased. we happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they grabbed the vehicle and us and took us into the hinterland. So, you know, and they did get ransom to answer the question, but not as much as they wanted. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Great to be here.